When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ledlow, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, folks. Mark Ledlow here on the Fearless Mindset Podcast, and today we bring to you Carlo from Japan. As you can see in his background there in the video, it looks very like a lot of vegetation back there because he's on a tropical island. Carlo, welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. Considering everything going on in the world, and you just had your prime minister shot and killed over there, and that was a shocker. But you told offline that you'd like to share your point of view and your perspective on all that too, and you've done some stuff for the audience that doesn't know Carlo. Carlo's knows a good friend of mine, Chris Marshall. For a shout out to Chris Marshall, good friend of mine in the protection world. Chris and Carlo work together overseas and at different capacity and in protection. And Carlo's got a background with Blackwater and law enforcement and firefighter, and he's done some stuff and. He's within the Blackwater alumni and highly trained and good at what he does. And he wanted to enjoy the show and just kind of share with us, probably what the pulse is on the ground over there in Japan. So happy to have you.
Thanks. So what do you want to cover?
Just what's the temperature down there in Japan now that happened? And you're just saying that you've kind of watched his protective detail in the past, and you kind of express some opinions on that. And feel free to express that.
So I'll just start out with a background. I've been living in Japan since 2016. When I first moved here, I lived in Tokyo, and the neighborhood I lived in was a neighborhood called Tomigaya. It's close to Yoyogi Park, which is like Central Park, New York. My apartment overlooked Abe's residence, and I'd have conversations with my wife. It was just agonizing to watch because they were always they were everything was clockwork. I could predict when Abe was arriving, when he was departing, based on the same routine they were doing every single day. And I joked with my wife, I'm like, this guy's going to get taken out, man. It's just a matter of time because they were just so complacent. Just for fun, I'd go up because I'd have to walk by where his detail was set up to take my kid to daycare, and I would approach them and be like, hey, what's going on? Or, I just want to make sure something looks kind of official. What are you guys doing here? And, they would tell you exactly what's going on. The prime minister is going to be moving in about 15 minutes. So, if you're going to come through this area, you might want to do it pretty fast because this whole area is going to be blocked off. And, I thought that was ridiculous. And you're like, why would you share your not only if you had a normal client, but the prime minister? I mean, that's when he was in office at the time. I thought that was ridiculous. I would see them, like we also we moved to a different area in Tokyo where it was kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with DC, but like Embassy Row. So we lived there, and I lived next to the Korean embassy. And the same thing, they would, you could walk up to any of the SPs. They're called SPs over here. They're agents. And they would give you the exact time, like if Putin was coming in, they would tell you the name of the person that was coming into town, the routes they were taking, so you wouldn't be inconvenienced. And I actually don't know if that's part of their if that's part of their duty, or if it's just like a peacocking thing. Like sometimes I don't know if you've worked with local law enforcement and the Secret Service or the State Department inside the states, but when they pull local police into their details, they'll be like, "All right, you cover this intersection or whatever." Sometimes the people that are doing that, they're not focused on their sector that much. They're more almost operating like a VIP with a front row seat. They're more paying attention to the dignitary, what they're doing, And I don't know if it's something that they want to feel important when they share this information, when you go up to them and talk to them, because maybe they don't want to appear like they're just some normal uniformed police. That's, today they're wearing a suit and a little pin or whatever. So maybe they share more information, or is it there? I don't know if it's the law that they need to divulge the information, that like the traffic interferences or at the road closures or whatever to the local citizens, so they won't be inconvenienced. Because Japan is a very polite society, and I don't know if you've seen some of my other posts on LinkedIn, but sometimes they'll post police vehicles on the routes. So the last time Biden was in town, the police put up these signages alongside the routes that the presidential motorcade is going on, and it's saying, during this time, traffic may be inconvenienced, and it's not like it was like a vague statement. It was all along the routes that he would be taking. So you might as well put a sign that said "Stage Complex Attack here, park your AED here, IED here," and take them out. It's very strange that they.
It's like the culture is telegraphing what they're going to do, and their culture is so polite they don't want to make anybody upset. Yes. But yet you give away OPSEC maneuvers, SOPs, when what you're doing, exposing liabilities and weaknesses in the protocol of an operation by doing that, by being polite.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened in Nara. Also, they like I said, they relied, in my opinion, they relied too much on pulling local police from, and instead of using their own agents. I don't know what their policy is compared to ours, where you get protection for life as a former head of state. Yes. But I know that they do use these guys, and they stick out like a sore thumb because, like I said, they like to peacock around. They'll have armbands. They'll be staged. Sometimes they'll be staged at every intersection, and it's just like a scarecrow, though. They've never been challenged. There's no gun culture here. There's no like when you walk around town and there's unrest. It's you can tell they'll tell the protesters where the stage, and the protesters will stay there, and they will not deviate from that little area. So they'll mark out a little rectangle in the area where they can protest, and each one will cram into that area and stay in that area. Unlike the U.S. or globally, where you can't tell a protester where they can protest. They'll overrun you. But here, it's a culture that everyone does what they're told for the most part. There aren't any rebels. There aren't any. There aren't any. No one's smashing in the windows and flipping over cars and burning them and all that stuff when they're upset, compared to the States at times. So
you have a culture over there that's not armed. Are the agents that protect the prime minister, are they even armed, or do they all have like sticks or something? How do they do that?
they're usually armed. From the ones I've seen, last gig I worked with them was the Olympics, and a lot of the local police and agents were armed, but and it was stereotypical men in black outfit, black tie, white shirt, black suit, everyone, same. But the way they carry their weapons, it's kind of just floppy on the back. Anyone could walk up behind you and grab it. Like they zero concern or training. Like it's very complacent. I don't know if it's because of the threat, because everyone does what they're told and stays where they are and doesn't cross the line. But I think when you don't have that threat, and when you don't have when you're not challenged, then I guess it breeds complacency. And I think when like in Narha, like there was so many things went wrong. It's like almost everything went wrong. There's no Overwatch. There's no medical. There's no control of the people coming in and out. There's no, like, everyone rushed the body. No one's, everyone rushed the suspect after he shot, instead of securing Abe's body. All these random people surrounding Abe's body, even taking photos of him while he was down. It's crazy. I think the most upsetting and agonizing thing was when there's an agent. I don't know if he's uniformed or an agent. He's getting on the mic asking for an AED, and I'm like, a trauma arrest. I mean, the
right.
Guy's bleeding out of his neck and his chest. I mean, you can't shock
right.
anything. Yeah,
you're right. Exactly. A little late.
Yeah. So
what your thoughts and what you've seen is they're pretty sloppy. They just have a very sloppy presence over there, and they think because there's no crime, they have a false sense of security, thinking nothing's going to happen because they have no crime over there.
Yeah. It's not just the no crime thing. It's they're so used to everyone falling in line. Everyone will. I mean, you put out a government announcement, like with the mask thing or stay indoors. Everyone follows orders. I mean, they have a saying in Japan and Asia, for that matter. It's like, if a nail sticks out, you got to hammer it back in. So there's no, and that's a thing that I have a problem, like, when raising my kids, as far as, like, my kids are American in this Japanese society. There's no individuality. So, and that's
right.
And that's probably why they didn't stop together when the assailant was walking towards the president. There's also this hierarchical thing where the guy might have seen him, but he's like, "Oh, I don't want to go first. Should I go first? I wait for someone to tell me to go grab this guy." So that's a big thing here too. No one wants to be first. No one wants to stand out. Instead of erring on the side of caution, which in those cases, I'd rather tackle someone and get suspended or almost get fired than end up in the situation that they ended up in, where somebody died. I'd rather be embarrassed than on YouTube that I tackled, like if that was his grandma coming up to give him wipe nose. It's a horrible thing that happened. And, it's the knee-jerk reaction right now. I don't know if you've been watching. It's like,
sure,
just like when the current prime minister has been speaking, it's like over the top security now.
Right, and reactionary.
Yeah, it's over reactionary, and I think it's they're gonna they'll probably start enacting a lot of silly rules after this. But I think, like, when I was in the Olympics, it was pretty embarrassing, the level of complacence. I was covering Princess Rima, who's the Saudi ambassador to the U.S.
Okay.
And I was a team leader on her detail, and the guys on the Japanese side were staged in the hotel, and they just weren't checking. They weren't checking anyone. They were, yeah. I mean, because they assigned people on the interior of the hotel and the exterior. The exterior guys were all uniformed, and inside they were all same thing, black. And they just, I didn't have creds, and which I was supposed to have creds, but Princess flew in with two of her guys, and I didn't get allotted credentials, so I was operating inside the hotel without credentials, and no one approached me at all.
Wow, that's soft.
Yeah, very soft. And there was, I think, on the last day, one of the commanders came up to me and asked where my creds were, and but I had already established a relationship with the head of the Olympic security and the hotel. Mm-hmm. And, so I was clear, but that entire time I was there for like 3 weeks, there was no one stopped me, and I was walking in and out of that. They didn't know. They looked at me. I could tell that they wanted to approach me, but they just made no effort to challenge me. And, so.
Yeah, I know the conversations over here I'm seeing on the threads are, is China behind the assassination? Was he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The Navy guy, was he a spy plant by China? You know, all that stuff's starting to spin out. It's a spin cycle in the wash machine right now.
Yeah, and hey, I don't know, but all I know, they've been reporting that his motive was his mother dumped a bunch of money into the Unification Church. If you're not familiar with the Unification Church, it's that South Korean church that they do all these big mass weddings, and he was upset that his mother pumped in pretty much her life savings and subsequently went bankrupt. And I guess he wanted to strike back at the church in some way, because, you know, for a lot of people, when you crush them financially like that, that's almost equivalent to dying, you know. So for revenge, he wanted to go after the head of the church, but they're based in South Korea. He's Japanese. There's no way that logistically he'd go to Korea, set up a similar kind of attack. But Abe was attached to the church primarily through his grandfather. And also he had sent in, I guess he was touted as their brand ambassador. Really? That's how he connected to that Unification Church. Like at times he would send in congratulatory video messages when they'd have these big group weddings. So I guess if you thought, all right,
that's interesting.
Yeah. So that
I didn't think about that. I had no idea he was connected to a church. So Prime Minister Abe was connected to that church that his mother gave money to.
Right, correct.
And so the son, out of retaliation, went after the prime minister because he was pissed off that his inheritance went to the prime minister of Japan. Okay.
Yeah,
now that makes more sense.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
That was his trigger. But I mean, I don't know the guy, but it makes sense to me. It makes sense that he was
Sure. Totally.
If he needed to strike back, or cut the head off the snake. The easiest target would be Abe. Because I mean, there's a lot of anti-Chinese, anti-Korean sentiment. Not a lot, but it's like I said, I lived next door to the Korean embassy at the time, and you'll see right-wing guys posting up outside of the embassy on the loudspeaker, or driving these huge vans with these big loudspeakers, just screaming a lot of anti-Korean and anti-Chinese stuff. So I think if you have that trigger you, and then you think your own head of state, your former head of state, is siding with people, then you're all right. This is a good target. If this is the best way I can, damage that church. And maybe he thought Abe was a traitor to the Japanese people by siding with some foreign church. Who knows? But
there's almost like a spiritual retaliation by this guy.
Yeah.
Spiritual. He's pissed off. The church gets my money. Sorry, but no, that's my money. And then, like you said, it may have crushed him financially. It may have devastated him. He had nothing to lose, so he duct tapes up those pipes together and goes up to a soft target. And like you said, his security team is very sloppy, and he definitely calculated what he did before he did it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the stars aligned for him. I mean, I guess he had tried, or he probed an event that Abe was at. I don't know, maybe a week earlier or whatever, but it was inside a building, and they a basic checkpoint, and maybe that deterred him from that particular moment. But boom, he's out in the open, lax security. He basically just walked up casually and hit him with a medieval
right
weapon.
Medieval weapon. It was like he has the homegrown kitchen.
Yeah.
Went down to Staples or went down to the hardware store to get some pipes together. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. A little MacGyver action.
Yeah.
So that would disband the whole idea that China had a plan over there trying to take him out. That just washes that all out.
Yeah, but I mean, I have a lot of friends that have said the same thing to you. Like, I've told them the story, and they still want
to. China did it.
China did it, or Korea did it, or whoever. But I mean, I'm not in the guy's head. That's what the police are reporting. That's it just makes sense to me. I mean, because the thing is, a lot of the gossip magazines, a lot of the political gossip magazines were putting up that information out there that Abe was this church's brand ambassador. Because they were, I don't know if it just put out, it could be fake news, it could be real, whatever. But I don't know, out there to discredit Abe or, give him a little black eye that he was siding or taking money from this church, for speaking engagements or, like sending those videos in. And if you're already triggered and you're stewing and you're like planning how to get back, and you're just on the internet kind of scrolling around and see this garbage out there, whether it's fake or real, whatever. All right, he's in Japan. This is easiest target for me to take out, and he's the most famous. Like, who's more famous, that head of church or Abe? What's going to be was going to have a lasting impact and create the most damage.
How will that damage Japan as a country and nation now? Because they've been going back and forth with China and air territorial stuff and all that. Do you think that's going to really bring down the morale of the Japanese people, or What's
I don't know.
the pulse out there?
I know that Abe was very pro military, like getting removing that constitutional ban on the military and, revitalizing their military infrastructure. So I don't know, like, in my opinion, I'm not Japanese, but in my opinion, that the fact that he was taken out might create more sympathy to change that law, or and I guess the real threat of China and then Korea would maybe sway the public to have more sympathy towards getting back into the military or investing more money into it. I don't know. But I mean, I'd always been interested in Japan and the warrior culture, Bushido and all that. But it's dead, man. I mean, looking around, like here, I trained some local police and combatives, and I still work from time to time when the money's right. Right now, my wife's opening up a CrossFit gym here, like a fitness retreat in this small mountain village. But you don't see, like, people aren't into, like, the outside world's problems. They're not really interested in beefing up their military. They're not really interested in getting out there, other than writing a check and donating money. That's as far as they want to go. They don't want to get involved anymore. I guess the World War II was so damaging for them that they're done. They're done with it.
They don't want to get involved in any more international stuff.